Jaya Shriman Narayana. Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Jaya Shri Guru. Sanatana Dharma Jayate. Dharma Rashtra Jayate. Victory to Sanatana Dharma. Victory to the Dharma nation. Evam Bhavatu. May it be so. Namaste, everyone, and welcome to our latest live stream satsanga. This is presented to you by the International Sanatana Dharma Society, a non-profit religious movement unlike any other on the face of the earth today. The International Sanatana Dharma Society exists for the sole purpose of restoring Sanatana Dharma, the eternal natural way, upon the face of the earth and in every way imaginable. Indeed, I've said it many times, our goal is to reestablish a Vedic civilization in the world today, and that means every single aspect of Vedic civilization, and of course, with the idea of spirituality being the very foundation of everything that we do as a civilization. So again, I welcome you all here. And before we start with our talk today, which is going to be a very, very nice talk called The Path of Joy, very joyful talk. Before we proceed with that, I just want to say a few very quick things. First of all, if you have not yet done so, please subscribe to this channel. You know, this is a channel that has been in existence now for a very long time, almost since the very beginning of YouTube, actually. We've been around for many, many years. But please subscribe when you can. Please like this video when you can. Also, if you can, please visit our website. And our website is dharmacentral.com. And when you're there, you will see that Dharma Central is a tremendous resource for learning more about Sanatana Dharma. Our books are available there. We have about 10 books or so that the ISDS has put out over the years. We have a beautiful mantra CD as well that is available. We have a few articles. We have all sorts of information that is available there. Also, when there, you can feel free to join our email list, and in that way you will receive periodic updates about different things that are happening with our movement, with myself, new books coming out, etc. And when you're there also, if you would feel so inclined, it would be wonderful if you could also become a member of the International Sanatana Dharma Society. Again, this is a non-profit movement. It's not a business in any way. This is not, unlike with many New Age ventures, this is not a business. This is a non-profit. It is a religious movement. And when you become a member of the International Sanatana Dharma Society, what you agree to do is to very simply tithe each month. And it can be any amount that you want. It can be $5 a month. It can be $100, $1 million, whatever you want. But in doing so, by becoming an official member of the ISDS, again, you'll be helping us tremendously. The very last thing that I want to say in that regard is the fact that we are indeed right in the midst of our year-end fundraiser for the ISDS. Indeed, for all of November and December, up until December 31st, we are having a very special fundraiser where we are indeed attempting to raise funds, again, for our nonprofit, for the ISDS. If you want more information about that, I believe that in the chat, there might be a link that's there. But again, if you just go to dharmacentral.com, you can find the page very easily on there where you can choose to, again, either become a member where you can give a recurring donation each month, or you can give a one-time donation as well. Whatever you give, it will be greatly, greatly appreciated. So with that, again, before I jump into the talk, I'm going to be doing something very special today. And it's going to be something that we have not done with this live stream before. And that is this, that I'm sure most people are not aware of this, but this past weekend, we had quite a few individuals visiting Omaha, visiting our temple from several different states, actually. And right now, we have quite a few people here, many of whom took initiation, actually, this weekend. Just yesterday, we had a beautiful initiation ceremony here in our temple, and we have several people who took initiation. And as I look around, I think I'm correct in saying that we have people here from officially 4 different states, from 4 different states throughout the United States. And I would like a few of them are shy, they're not going to appear on camera, but I would like a few of them to just appear on camera very quickly. And I will be introducing them by their spiritual names. So with that, since you're closest, would you like to come? And yeah, just position yourself behind me so people can see you. You can see yourself there. This is Purushottama. He is one of the individuals who took initiation yesterday. Absolutely wonderful individual. And again, I will give you their spiritual names, not their legal names or anything. I don't think I have their permission for that. But Purushottama is a truly wonderful individual who, again, is from out of state and chose to come here this weekend. And with that, you can stay there, actually. Yeah, why don't you stay right there? Yeah, why don't you come around and just, again, position yourself. Yeah, you can see yourself here. Very nice. This is Ananta Shesha, who also is from out of state, a different state, and who also received initiation yesterday. This is why both of them now have Sanskrit names. So Ananta Shesha also is a wonderful individual who indeed was actually practicing Vaishnavism before he became aware of myself and the ISDS, etc. And he became inspired to come here to the temple and to receive initiation. And again, he also is a truly wonderful, very sincere individual. And again, we have a few other people who are very shy and they've chosen not to appear. Would you like to? Okay, very good. We have another individual. He's not going to show himself, but his name is Rajarama, and also from out of state, who also appeared, who also came here this weekend and received initiation. And again, a very sincere individual who indeed, and I hope you don't mind my saying this, he was born in our tradition, actually. He is a Sri Vaishnava by birth. His parents were Sri Vaishnavas, etc. So it is truly significant that he chose to take initiation in the International Sanatana Dharma Society, ourselves being a Sri Vaishnava organization and movement, as an individual who, again, was born in this tradition, knows the tradition well, and understands that indeed the way that the ISDS teaches Vaishnavism is as radically orthodox as it can be. But again, he's a little shy, so he won't be showing himself. And with that, Hayagriva, would you like to? Now, Hayagriva did not recently take initiation, but still, I would like people to meet him nonetheless. And again, everyone, you can stay where you are. I think we can all crowd in.
Namaste, everyone.
This is Hayagriva, and another absolutely wonderful individual who, interestingly, also is from out of state. So again, we have people here representing 4 different states who have come here for various reasons. Hayagriva is one of our moderators of many, many moderators who we have both for the live stream, but also the Discord channel as well. So with that, thank you all very much. I am extremely proud of you all for being the absolutely wonderful and sincere and good-hearted and hard-working students that you are. Thank you so much for your help in growing the ISDS and making this into a successful movement. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Very good. And with that, you can all sit again. Thank you so much. Very good. Wonderful. So, with that, I thank you for your indulgence. Again, we've never done this before. Well, we always have other individuals here, other students of mine, but they never appear on camera. Instead, they're doing things behind the scenes, moderating, etc. But I just thought this was very nice to show people that we have truly wonderful supporters and students. With that, I will now jump into the talk for today. And indeed, this talk is called The Path of Joy. And indeed, before I even jump into the talk, let me explain to people, that is what Sanatana Dharma is. It is a path of joy. You know, it's interesting, it's sad actually, how there are so many, let's say, religious paths, spiritual paths, etc., so many denominations, recent sects, where sadly, when you meet the individuals who follow these various religions, very sadly, you often don't find people who are extremely joyful. You know, some of these people are quite solemn, some of them are very angry, very fanatical, etc. And as a result of this, sometimes people get the wrong impression about religion and spirituality. That, oh, what it means to be an individual who is religious or spiritual is, again, you become very solemn and very serious, etc. And the truth of the matter is, with true spirituality, the opposite should be the case. Is this not why people choose to follow spirituality? Is because what they are seeking is joy, happiness, true happiness. Well, that is indeed the case. This is what people are seeking. Well, with Sanatana Dharma, very specifically, this is not a solemn path. It is a serious path, but it's not a morose path. It's not a path where people just have to be kind of morose and ultra serious all the time. No, it's a path that we take seriously, but in which we experience and express tremendous joy. Indeed, even our very conception of the absolute, even our very idea of what is the nature of God, is that God ultimately is, in essence, a joyful, loving being. God is not a tormentor. God is not a judge in the sky. God is not a petty individual who hurls thunderbolts down at us. Not at all. On the contrary, our idea of God is that God is Sriman Narayana, and Sriman Narayana is the very source of all ananda, of all bliss, of all happiness, of all ecstasy, of all joy. And in knowing Sriman Narayana, what we experience first and foremost in our lives is a joy that is indescribable, and that cannot be surpassed in any way whatsoever. So this is our path. It is a path of joy, Sanatana Dharma. So with that, I'm going to be looking at two verses today very specifically, and these are both from two different Upanishads that explain indeed what is the nature of joy and how indeed God is joy, and we are meant to be joyful in connection with God. So the first verse that I'm going to be looking at is Taittiriya Upanishad, one of the Upanishads, an important one. And this is 3:6, verse 1. And it proceeds in this way. Bhrigu practiced meditation and learned that joy is Brahman. Brahman is God. For from joy all beings are born. By joy they are sustained, having been born. And into joy they enter after death. This is the wisdom which Bhrigu, taught by Varuna, attained within his heart. He who attains this wisdom wins glory, grows prosperously, enjoys health and fame. So, very happy verse. Very beautiful, very nice verse. But as always, let's look at this verse a little bit more closely. Let's go through it line by line, word for word by word if we have to. Bhrigu, first of all, who is Bhrigu? Bhrigu is not just anyone. He is one of the 7 great rishis. He himself is a rishi. He is one of the earliest beings in this universe. He himself is created from the very mind of Brahma, who is the creator demiurge, the creator god of this one specific universe, etc. He is an individual who is considered to be one of the revealers of the science of Jyotisha or astrology, etc. So this is who we're talking about when we talk about Bhrigu. He's a very significant individual. So, using Bhrigu as an example, now let's go on with this verse. Bhrigu practiced meditation and learned that joy is Brahman. Now, this verse in itself is something that's extremely important, because this is the process by which we grow spiritually. That is, we do sadhana, and what is meant by sadhana or spiritual practice is very specifically meditation, and in doing meditation we have realization and we have experience of that which is the absolute. We have experience of many things, really, but in this particular case it's kind of honing in very specifically on that realization of God. So Bhrigu did sadhana, he practiced meditation. This is what we are all meant to do if we indeed are going to grow and have our own realizations and experience of the divine. We have to do our sadhana, we have to do our meditation. Indeed, Bhrigu, being a rishi, what does this mean? This means that he was an individual who practiced yoga and became a rishi. Again, individuals by default are not simply rishis, they become rishis. Even with these 7 great rishis. And how do we know this? Because this very sentence is telling us. He did meditation, he did his sadhana, he practiced yoga, and as a result he had a realization. And what is that realization? He learned that joy is Brahman. That is, that true joy is knowing God. And again, by Brahman, this is simply a philosophically neutral name of God that we find especially in the Upanishads, in the Brahma Sutras, that is Vedanta Sutras, many, many different places actually. It's just a neutral name. It's like saying the word God. It's not a name in and of itself. It's just pointing to that which is the absolute. So what was this realization that he had? That the source of all joy is God, is Brahman, and to experience true joy is indeed to experience God. So this one sentence alone tells us so much. What it's telling us really is, in the same way that Bhrigu did this, you do this. You do this too. You steep yourself in meditation and in yogic practice, in sadhana, in spiritual practice, in such a way that you also will begin to experience that joy within you and to realize that that joy is sourced in God. Because this is what we experience. This is what we experience when we meditate. When you meditate well, when you meditate in the proper way under the tutelage of a guru and authentic meditation, one of the first things that you begin to experience, and you don't have to wait years for this if you're sincere, you begin to indeed experience joy and bliss within. Now at first, it's not a joy that remains with you forever. The idea is not that you meditate for a week and, well, that's it. Now I have ecstasy for the rest of my life, and you achieve self-realization, God realization that quickly. No, of course not. But you begin to experience little traces of joy. Meditation is hard, as I've always said to people. Sometimes, with some sessions where you're meditating, it will be hard and your mind won't cooperate. But then other times, you will be meditating in complete peace, and you will be meditating upon the names of God in such a way that you lose yourself in those divine names, and you begin to experience the joy, the bliss that is God himself there present within you as Paramatman. And when you experience this, it is at that point that you now have proof positive that, what? Several things. That God is real, that God is good, that meditation and sadhana work, and that you are connected to God. And that God being that source of all joy, and God being that source of you in connection with God can in time experience joy perpetually. In a nutshell, that is the Siddhanta. So that being said, let's go on a little bit more. For from joy all beings are born. Now there's a little bit of an analysis about the very nature of joy itself. And this is interesting, actually. From joy all beings are born. What does this mean? Well, let's be blunt about this. What this is talking about is Vedic sexuality. That is auspicious sattvic sexuality. That is a man and a woman who are spiritual people, who become married, who choose to have children, and in their joy, indeed, there's progeny and children are born. This is indeed how children should be born. Not in crazy ways, not out of wedlock, not accidentally, not single parents and just, terrible things that happen in the Kali Yuga. But ideally, this is how birth should come about. It should be a truly joyful, wonderful experience. Now let's go on. By joy they are sustained, having been born. So what does this mean? We are meant, even within this world, to live in happiness, to live in joy. And what does this mean? Well, we recognize that this is a world of suffering. Of course it is. We recognize that it is a world of good and bad, where happiness and suffering come of their own accord, like the winter and summer seasons. We understand that, but at the same time, we, understanding that we are Atman, that we are free-willed beings, and that we have God as our source, we also know that we can choose to be joyful nonetheless, even as we traverse this very interesting, crazy world. We understand that we can indeed have tremendous joy in this world, that we can live, in other words, a spiritual lifestyle, a sattvic lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle, such that in everything that we do, we have happiness. And more, continuing to progress, especially spiritually, we can have happiness. And then finally, and into joy they enter after death. What an interesting thing to say, to link joy and death. For the vast majority of individuals, and especially today, of course, we don't link death with joy. On the contrary, we think that death is a terrible thing, and it is a sad thing. It certainly is sad to be separated from people who we love. But at the same time, if you have lived a life of joy, that is, if you have lived a spiritual life, even upon leaving your body and leaving this earth, you can do so in a joyful state. Not with fear, not with worry, not with confusion, and just terrible things happening psychologically within you. No, you can actually choose to leave this world in joy, understanding that you are going someplace better. Either to be with God, quite literally, because you will have achieved liberation, or at the very least, having been a spiritual person for all of your lifetime, you understand that you are certainly going to a better place where your spiritual growth can continue in your next life. That being the case, this is why spiritual people, when they leave their body, they tend to leave their bodies very peacefully, and indeed even joyfully. Now let's go on. This is the wisdom which Bhrigu, taught by Varuna, attained within his heart. Varuna is one of the gods, indeed one of the Vedic gods, and indeed this was taught to Bhrigu by Varuna, by one of the gods. Can you envision this? To simply have a guru, to simply have a human guru is rare enough. Can you imagine having one of the gods as your guru, who quite literally is instructing you and giving you wisdom? Indeed, one of the highest gods giving you wisdom. Well, this is Bhrigu, and this is how fortunate he was. But this is the wisdom that he attained, again, within his heart. So again, going back to the very first sentence, via meditation, via sadhana, etc. What happened to Bhrigu, and what can happen to us as well, is that indeed, in doing our sadhana, in doing our practice with resilience, with discipline, with determination, etc., what can happen is that wisdom can arise within our heart, realization of what is the nature of our true self, what is the nature of God, what is the nature of reality, etc., etc. So, let's go on. Now it's talking very specifically about all of us. He who attains this wisdom, what happens to such a person? Such a person wins glory, grows prosperous, enjoys health and fame. So again, what is this wisdom? It is that God is the source of all joy. Brahman is the source of all joy. So understanding this to be the case, we seek joy in God, not other things. Not other things which themselves are created by God. or by extension, by other beings who were created by God. But rather, we understand that it is the nature of this world that, yes, we can enjoy temporary joys in this world, and truthfully, the more linked we are to God, the more true joy we can experience, even materially, even within this world. The truth of the matter is, when we seek joy without God, we don't have actual joy. We can have titillation, we can have pleasures that come and go, we can have so many other things. But the sort of joy that is being spoken of here, in this verse and the verse to come, this can only be had, can only be attained when indeed we find ourselves linked to that Absolute who is the source of all joy. So, understanding this, that person who attains this wisdom, that God is joy, what happens to such a person? They win glory. They win glory. Glory, what is meant by this? They become a glorious person. They become a person who others look up to and others wish to know and wish to become like. They become an individual who they themselves become almost a manifestation, a mirror of God's glory, of God's wonder. So this is the first thing that happens, is that they win glory. They grow prosperous. Now, what is meant by prosperous? In every way. An individual who understands that indeed God and God alone is the source of all joy, such an individual becomes prosperous in every way. That means they become prosperous in wisdom. That means spiritually they become prosperous. That means even materially. That means that an individual who is a self-realized being and who has taken repose in God can have anything. And yet they desire nothing. But they can have everything. Such a person enjoys health. Indeed, when you are a sattvic person, when you are a spiritual person, you are a person who is healthy. You are a person whose skin glows. You have luster to you. You have energy to you, etc., etc. Versus individuals who are very materialistic, persons who have terrible lifestyles. They spend all their time doing drugs, drinking alcohol, partying, spending hours and hours staring at screens, doing video games, staring at pornography, etc., etc. What ends up happening? They lose their health. They have no energy. They become lazy. They become overweight. They become just unhealthy in every way imaginable. So what happens to a person who understands that God is the source of all joy? Such an individual enjoys health, true health. And then finally, fame. What's the evidence of this? Bhrigu himself. Bhrigu himself is a being who, his origin goes back almost to the very beginning of time within this universe. So we're talking about billions of years ago. And yet, to this day, he is remembered to the point where it's 2021. We are having a live stream. We're using modern technology on YouTube. And we are speaking about this individual who lived here very long time ago. Such is the nature of true fame, that an individual who does not seek fame, but who seeks only to know God, ultimately becomes someone who is remembered, both in his lifetime, but then for many, 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 many millennia after. Very good. Now, with that, let's go to the very next verse that we're going to look at, and this is Chandogya Upanishad 7, chapter 23, and verse 1. Another beautiful verse. The infinite is the source of joy. There is no joy in the finite. Only in the infinite is there joy. Ask to know the infinite. So short but beautiful verse, and very profound verse actually, as we'll see in a moment. So again, this is Chandogya Upanishad. And let's go through this again line by line. Let's start with the very beginning. So again, as was being said in the previous verse, this realization that Bhrigu himself had, this verse is saying the same thing. It is the infinite who is the source of joy. Now, in this particular case, it's referring to God as the infinite, not necessarily as Brahman, but as the infinite. And there's this juxtaposition that we see that takes place within this verse of infinite, finite, etc. And it's a very, very interesting construction, both in the Sanskrit, but also even here in English translation, actually, that you see this interesting juxtaposition. where why is it that God is referred to very specifically as the infinite here? It could be referred to as anything else, the all-powerful, the source, etc. He could be referred to in so many different ways, but he's referred to as the infinite. The reason why this is the case is twofold. First of all, to indicate the fact that God being infinite, what is the ultimate degree? What is the ultimate, if you could say this, quantity and quality? What is the ultimate depth to which God is the source of all joy? And more, to what extent can we experience that joy? Can we even imagine? So in other words, how much joy are we talking about? Oh, think of that time in your life when you had a lot of joy. Just think of some experience you had. Oh, are we talking about 5 times more? Are we talking about 10 times more? What number do you wish to put on this? Well, this is an indication of what this verse is trying to explain. God being the infinite, to what degree are we talking about the depths of joy, both that is there within the very essence of God and which we also can participate in? It's not something that is fathomable. It's something that's inconceivable. There are no limits to the joy that we can experience in our devotion to Bhagavan. So that's the first thing that this is saying. Also, again, the reason why God is referred to as the infinite is for a second reason, and that is indeed to juxtapose the infinite with the finite, and more, to rid us of our illusion of what we think joy is, when in actuality that is not what joy is at all. Again, for most of us, when we think of joy, when we think of happiness, when we think of bliss, when we think of any of these allied terms, what do we tend to think of? That is the common individual. Oh, I like such and such. Oh, that was fun. Oh, that gave me pleasure. Oh, I had an itch. I scratched it. Oh, that's joy. We tend to think of all these silly little pedestrian things that are so insignificant, but yet for the vast majority of beings in this world, that is for so many of us, sadly, the furthest extent to which we can imagine experiencing joy. Oh, my favorite TV show is on. Oh, watch it for 22 minutes, not including commercials. Commercials are never a joy. Here I am, I'm watching for 22 minutes, my favorite TV show. And at the 23rd minute, my joy is over. So for most of us, indeed, when we think of joy, we tend to think of finite expressions of joy. That is, they come into our life for some time. They serve more than anything as a distraction from our loneliness, from our misery, etc., from our depression, from what so many people are experiencing today. But that's all that they really are, is more than anything just a distraction. They're not true joy. These are finite joys. And being finite and being temporary, they really are almost a source of the opposite of joy, because just as quickly as they come, they go. But rather, again, there's that juxtaposition of infinite versus finite. So with that understanding, let's go on. So first, the infinite is the source of joy. So again, God is the source. Now, stating it very clearly, there is no joy in the finite. Again, what I was just explaining. We can attempt to put all of our hope in something that is finite. Oh, if I go to this restaurant and get this favorite meal of mine, oh, that is going to be the source of joy. And will it be? A little bit. For a very temporary amount of time until the meal is gone. And then we move on to find a different joy and a different joy and a different joy. So again, this is the nature of finite joys, is that in actuality, there is no joy in that which is finite. Now let's go on. To re-emphasize, and again, it's almost like a seesaw, infinite, finite, infinite. Only in the infinite is there joy. So this is in a way almost repeated. But again, it's repeated in a very interesting didactic manner in order to truly teach us something. First, it gives definition. The infinite is the source of joy. Now, what is its opposite? That which is finite. There is no joy there. But wait, I want joy. What do I do? Only in the infinite is there joy. So thus, the emphasis is we are to surrender at the feet of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, of Sriman Narayana. We are to surrender at the lotus feet of that which is the infinite, and in that way we also can participate in that joy of the infinite. We can experience bliss being there in devotion at the lotus feet of that being who is the source of all bliss. And now, with that understanding, you see, this is only the beginning. Now you understand this theoretically. Now you understand this, but now there's one last sentence. Ask to know of the infinite. So thus, having understood this, that indeed in the finite there is no joy, in the infinite there is joy, now the spiritual path begins. Now you must seek that which is the infinite. And how do you do this? Now you ask. Ask to know the infinite. In other words, it is at this point that you indeed approach somebody who himself understands the infinite and understands the infinite intimately. Now you approach a guru. Now you begin the path. Now you begin your journey upon the path of sadhana and instruction in such a way that that joy of the infinite will become alive for you. And knowing that joy, anything lesser can never touch you again. Very good. With that, thank you for listening to my short discourse on these two truly beautiful verses talking about what is the path of joy, of true joy. And with that, I'm going to stop here and see if there are any questions. So I'm signaling to everyone, if you have any questions, we actually have a nice amount of time. And I purposefully today decided to not give a very long talk so that we could have a lot of time for questions and answers. Because I always feel very sad that so many people ask so many questions. and there's never enough time to look at them all. Very good. And the questions are coming in. Very nice. So let me look at these now. Very good. Here is a very interesting question from Nick. And what he says here is, thank you for the joyous talk, Sri Acharya-ji. Absolutely my pleasure. And congrats again to the new initiates. So all of you who are new initiates, congratulations to you. And then you ask, Nick, will you speak to the lifestyle of breatharian and the wise men of India who live purely off of prana and mineral water? Absolutely, yes. Yes, definitely. Well, truthfully, this is indeed something that is quite legitimate and something that is indeed found within the history of yoga, that is individuals who become not so much just spiritually advanced, but advanced very specifically in the techniques of yoga, in the actual techniques of yoga, such that indeed they can live off of prana. And as far as prana is vitality. Prana is that subtle energy that is there within the universe. It is there not just in breathing. A lot of people sadly make the mistake of thinking that prana is something that is only in the air. No, it's anything natural that gives us vitality as a result of its origination in a being who had consciousness. That is prana. So thus, food, all of which is organic, all of which was alive at one point, has prana. The sun has prana. Water has prana, etc. So it's not just breathing. But the idea is that, indeed, there are some advanced yogis who decide to live in such a way that they live only from prana. That is, they will meditate in the sun, and the sun hitting them, they will gain nutrition. They will do pranayama, breathing exercises, such that they receive all the vitality that they need, all the nutrients they need, etc., etc. And for them, they will actually avoid eating. I don't know of many who avoid drinking water. I don't think that's a possibility for anyone, but certainly there are some yogis who will not eat. Several things to be said about this. This is not something that I would recommend to anyone for several reasons. First of all, to do the techniques necessary to come to the point where you literally no longer have to eat and you can just live off of the prana in air and sun, it takes an extremely long time. Any individual who will tell you that, oh, I practiced such and such technique for 6 months and now I can do this, they're lying. They're eating when no one's watching. That person's not telling the truth. It can be done, but it would take at least half a lifetime. We're talking about this would take 30, 40 years to achieve such a thing. That's the first thing. Second thing is there truly a purpose in doing this today? Is that actually the purpose of yoga? Is to practice yoga for such a long time with the end goal being that, oh, I don't have to eat anymore. Eating is not an unpleasant process. And again, eating is very natural. Eating is a way in which we derive prana as well. And again, what is the purpose of it? By not eating, it's not that by doing this, that will guarantee that we will know God, that we will have God realization, etc. Indeed, many of the most advanced, most sophisticated, most truly astounding rishis and sages of the past who did know God perfectly, they ate. They ate. They had no difficulty with eating, etc. So that's the thing that I would ask is simply, if a person chose to live such a lifestyle, why? What would be the purpose of it? Again, other than it being impressive to others, they can kind of show it off. Oh, look at me. I don't have to eat. I can just sit in the sun and get all the nutrition I need. But again, this is not something that necessarily guarantees that a person will have true self-realization or God realization. So this is why it's a path that I would not recommend to people. Rather, if you're going to eat, one thing that is wonderful to do is to instead transcendentalize, to spiritualize your eating altogether. And that is that before you eat something, you offer it to God, you say grace, etc. You have God there within your mind with devotion as you're eating, etc. And in this way, the very process of eating itself can become a type of sadhana. That's actually a more joyful, speaking of joy, a much more joyful path to follow. So I hope that answers your question, Nick. And please give me a moment as I look at just a few more of these questions here. Very nice. Here's an interesting question, actually, and this is a question on the practice of brahmacharya. And I did a very long talk on brahmacharya, on what it means to be a brahmachari, but I wasn't asked this question to my memory. And that is, Namaste, teacher, could we practice semen retention between wife and husband? Very good question. And the answer, of course, is yes, you could. You can and should only do so if both parties, that is the husband and wife, are 100% on board with this. Otherwise, it's not fair. It's not fair to your partner. So it has to be something where it's not that you had to take a month convincing your wife that, all right, you're going to be celibate now. And then finally she acquiesces and says, all right, well, I guess with a roll of the eyes. No, that's going to damage your marriage. It should be something in which, again, both of you being yogis, having a goal, having a reason for doing this, and more, again, having an end point. That is saying, having a vow, saying that, oh, all right, we will practice celibacy for, 30 days or whatever the time period is. Done in this sort of way, it is certainly something that is beneficial. And again, especially for the husband, very specifically, because it is the husband losing semen, the man losing semen that is of utmost concern. So it is something that, again, can certainly be beneficial even for married people and specifically for a married man. But again, it's something where you have to have agreement between husband and wife. Otherwise, you're going to risk your marriage. So I hope that's a good and practical answer for you. It's something that can be done, and with both of you in agreement, it would be very beneficial. Very good. Very nice. Very good. Here's a very interesting question. And it is, Namaste Shri Acharyaji, was the Om Namo Narayanaya mantra the main mantra for the 4 sampradayas in the past? Thank you. Very nice. That is a very, very good question. And the truth of the matter is, yes, it was indeed the main mantra for all four sampradayas. And it is not to say that now, today, in 2021, that the Om Namo Narayanaya mantra isn't emphasized more by one of the sampradayas versus others. Yes, this is a more recent development that indeed, if you look at the other, that is, the other sampradayas outside of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, today they will possibly emphasize different mantras. However, it's understood that historically all four Sampradayas accepted the Om Namo Narayanaya mantra, and this being the case because all four Sampradayas followed the Vedic scriptures. And following the Vedic scriptures, again, this is the pronouncement of the Vedic scriptures, that indeed this is an extremely important mantra. But again, it's not the only mantra. So that being the case, certainly throughout time, there have been individual gurus, individual acharyas, who would emphasize perhaps a different mantra. But being Vaishnavas, they would always be mantras dedicated to Vishnu in one form or another, either Vishnu or one of the avatars of Vishnu. The point being, all the mantras would be Vishnu Tattva mantras. That is, mantras that are pointing to, that are connected with Vishnu, that incorporate one or another of the names of Vishnu. So indeed, the Om Namo Narayanaya mantra is recognized by all four sampradayas. But again, today, due to millennia and millennia of time that's gone by, certainly the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya seems to emphasize this mantra more so than the other Sampradayas. So I hope that answers the question. Very interesting. Here is a very interesting question that I will definitely answer. And the question is, why did Indra lose his prominence as a god over time? Many New Agers and Neo-Vedantists claim that he is the same as Shiva, while others say that this is not the case, and that this is a New Age misunderstanding. Okay, very good. Very, very interesting question, and I will indeed answer this, actually. Yes, Indra, first of all, let's talk about what is the nature of Indra before we even go directly into answering your exact question, actually. Let us first look at what is the nature of Indra. First of all, Indra is indeed the king of the gods. He is the king of the heavens, of Svarga. Now, with this understanding, of course, we have to also understand that what is meant by heavens is not quite literally the highest realm. It doesn't mean the transcendental realm. It doesn't mean the spiritual realm, the realm of God. But rather by the heavens, or what is technically termed Svarga. What is meant by this are those higher regions within the material world in which you have very powerful and beneficent beings, known as the Devas and the Devis. Indra very specifically is not only the king of the Devas and Devis, but he is also a very functional king, meaning he is a general. More than anything, he leads the army of the Devas and the Devis. Generally speaking, once in a while someone else is delegated, a different god or goddess, but that's a completely different story. He is considered to be the general of the gods and goddesses. However, this is a finite position. While it is a position that's very important, he is not the supreme being in any way. Indeed, all the Vedic scriptures make this extremely clear, from Rig Veda to the Puranas to any place where Indra is mentioned. More, to emphasize this point even more, the very term Indra itself is a designation of a station, not a person. So thus, it's like saying president, the president of the United States. All right, which president? Are you talking about President Lincoln? Are you talking about Washington? Are you talking about President Trump? Which president are you talking about? So it's a title, a designation. So when we speak about Indra, there have been many Indras. So again, this even emphasizes the point even more that, yes, this is not God who we're talking about, but rather a finite being. Now, this being the case, Indra is far from a perfect being. Indra, as is indeed the case for most, not all, but most of the gods and goddesses, These are individuals who are finite Atmans who have simply reincarnated, and due to very good karma, they find themselves in these various stations. But it doesn't mean that they're perfect beings. And Indra very specifically is known to have been not just an imperfect being, but in some cases a being who was quite offensive to God. A few times, Indra performed several acts that were quite literally offensive to God. And it's as a result of that, and very specifically one act that occurred approximately 5,200 years ago when Krishna was here as an avatar, where Indra was indeed quite offensive to Krishna avatar, that as a result, Indra is not really worshipped today anymore. He's still respected because he did correct his mistake. He did apologize, but he did commit the mistake. So as a result, this brought his stature down quite a few notches. So it is indeed the case that previous to this incident, Indra was much more prevalent. He was worshipped. He's not so much worshipped anymore. So this is why, indeed, in the most ancient strata of Vedic literature, you do indeed find Indra to be very prominent, whereas today, not at all. You don't hear about worship of Indra so much anymore. That's the first thing. Second thing, this idea of Indra being Shiva, Shiva being Indra. Yes, this is as New Age and concocted and nonsensical as anything conceivable. This is the equivalent of saying Indra is Mickey Mouse. My students are laughing here. You might as well say Shiva is Mickey Mouse. No, this is made up New Age nonsense. When you hear any so-called spiritual person coming to you and saying, Shiva is Indra, Indra is Vishnu, and this one is that one, and that one is this one, just walk away from that person, because you are in the presence of a fool. An absolute fool who knows nothing. Indeed, Mickey Mouse would actually be a better guru than that person. No, it's nonsense. That's not true. Indra is not Shiva. Shiva is not Indra, and Odin is not Shiva as well. It's another nonsensical thing that a fool made up. So all that being said, let's go on, please. We'll try to answer a few more questions. Good. Here is a very practical question, actually, and I've been asked this before, but I will certainly answer this again. And the person says, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us, Guru. Absolutely my pleasure. My question would be, is every follower of Sanatana Dharma the English is not quite correct here, but I understand what you're saying. You're asking, is every follower of Sanatana Dharma meant to eat a vegetarian diet, or are there any exceptions? If yes, what would they be? Good question. And let me put it this way. Is every Catholic meant to go to Mass every day? A good Catholic will. Now, do you want to be a good Catholic, or do you want to simply call yourself Catholic? And again, I can give a million examples with other religions as well. That it is a matter of, when you say a follower of Sanatana Dharma, does one wish to simply be a nominal follower? In other words, you just want to be able to, when you go to the hospital or some official place, and you have to fill out the form about your information, and it says religion. Oh, Sanatana Dharma. Is that all you want? Is to officially, nominally be able to call yourself that? Or is it indeed your goal to explore this beautiful, joyous path as deeply as possible, to understand it, to practice it, etc.? If it is the latter, then yes, you should become an intelligent vegetarian. And let me explain what I mean by an intelligent vegetarian. Like with any diet, it is important in following that diet that, of course, you do so intelligently. In other words, I also tell people this about vegetarianism. If you're going to be a vegetarian, don't just stop eating meat and have a pizza diet after that. You see, you'll be vegetarian, but you're not going to be a healthy vegetarian. No, learn about a little bit about nutrition. Learn a little bit about how to have a balanced, very healthy diet, etc. That being the case, you can indeed be a vegetarian for all of your life, live a very healthy life. Indeed, protein, protein, protein. This is the main concern that vegetarians hear from everyone. Oh my God, where do I get my protein? As a vegetarian, you can get more protein than a meat eater. You can get more protein in your life than someone who eats steak for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. Protein is not an issue. I get plenty of protein, and it's not an issue whatsoever. So indeed, if a person wants to become an intelligent vegetarian, have a balanced diet, a healthy lifestyle, you can indeed do this, and you will be healthy for your life. If a person does not, again, wish to actually make spiritual advancement, but just call themselves a follower of Sanatana Dharma, then they can. Now, there are very few, but there are indeed exceptions for some people, and that is very specifically for some kshatriyas, not all kshatriyas. For some kshatriyas, some of these individuals scripturally are indeed allowed to eat meat. But when we say allowed to eat meat, we're not talking about going to your local supermarket or butcher shop and buying meat and going home and cooking it. Rather, some kshatriyas are allowed to hunt. And the reason why they're allowed to hunt is because they are building their fighting skills. They're learning how to use the bow and arrow, how to use the spear, etc. They're learning how to operate in such a way that they can be very quiet and sneak up upon other beings, etc., etc. And they're doing this because they are real kshatriyas, not pretend kshatriyas, not people who just want to call themselves urban kshatriyas in New York. No, this is for people who this is their job. There are too many people out there who, I'm a kshatriya, I'm a warrior, and oh, really, okay, well, as you're delivering pizza, good luck with that. No. We're talking about individuals who are real warriors, and that's literally their career. For such individuals, if they choose to hunt, they shouldn't just hunt and kill an animal and leave the carcass there. They should indeed then eat the animal that they hunted and killed, and they should first say a prayer. The prayer is there in Sanskrit. You first apologize to the animal, and then very respectfully, you eat that animal. If you can do such a thing, that is, you're a real warrior and you're hunting and you say this prayer, etc., then it is admissible to eat meat. Otherwise, no, it's not admissible to eat meat. Very good. Good. With that, we have only 3 minutes. Time just flies. So if you give me a minute, I'm going to skip a whole bunch of questions and see if there's maybe one, possibly 2 questions that I can answer very quickly. Very good. This will be the last question that I will answer, actually, because it's a very nice one. Speaking about joy, this is a very joyful question, actually. And this is from Siddharth. And the question is, Namaste Acharyaji. Thanks for introducing your disciples. So again, our pleasure. Everyone was very, very, very happy about that, everyone here. And your question is, I wonder whether you can talk about Goloka Vrndavana planet Prabhupada refers to. How can one have full knowledge of this spiritual planet? Very nice. This is a joyful question, and I will attempt to give you a joyful answer. Yes, first of all, it is understood in accordance with the Vedic scriptures, Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam, this Paramam Padam, this supreme quarter, this supreme abode. This is the abode of Lord Vishnu, what otherwise is called also, many names, but also Vaikuntha. This is the actual spiritual realm. This is a realm that is outside of the material universe altogether. Indeed, it is outside of the very sphere of materiality altogether. This is what some people call the actual kingdom of God, where everything is comprised of consciousness and God himself is there in his locus of being, in his original form, etc. So generally speaking, this entire zone, this spiritual zone of consciousness is known as Vaikuntha, and Sriman Narayana are the supreme being of Vaikuntha. But then there are an infinite number of sectors and areas and quarters within this Vaikuntha realm. And there are an infinite number of planets, etc., etc. And what determines whether an individual chooses to be in one area versus another is their very specific relationship with Sriman Narayana, with God. So some individuals will have a very special relationship with one of the avatars, with one of the expansions, etc., etc. And when it comes to the avatars, there is a realm within the spiritual world in which if a person is a devotee of Rama, you will be in the Ayodhya area of Vaikuntha. If you are very specifically a devotee of Krishna, you will be in the Goloka Vrndavana sector of Vaikuntha. So this is what Goloka Vrndavana is. For those individuals who very specifically are devotees of Krishna, and eternally so, that is their eternal, the manifestation of their eternal relationship with God, is that they are eternally linked specifically with Krishna. Upon liberation, they will go to Goloka Vrndavana to be with Krishna specifically for all of eternity. Now, as to the latter part of your question, how can one have full knowledge of this spiritual planet, that is of Goloka Vrndavana? Devote your life to Krishna. Become Krishna conscious. Devote your life to Krishna, become Krishna conscious in such a way that upon liberation, Krishna is all that you are aware of. Krishna is all that you are thinking of. And upon leaving the body, it is as if you are waking up from a dream and you suddenly find yourself in true life. You find yourself there in the eternal Goloka Vrndavana, and you are there with Krishna face to face. So this is how you do this, indeed, by achieving the perfection of spirituality, by achieving liberation in bhakti, in devotion, in such a manner that all that you are aware of is Krishna. And upon leaving this world, he is the only thing that is in your mind and within your heart. And you find yourself there in Goloka Vrndavana, eternally partaking of his pastimes with him. This is how we enter that Goloka Vrndavana, where every word is a song, and every movement is a dance, and everyone is always eternally in joy. So with that, it's 2 minutes past 8, and again, I have to apologize for all the many, many, many other people who asked so many different questions, and very sadly, I will not be able to get to them today. But again, we do this every Monday, so please feel free to come back each and every Monday. And if I didn't see your question today, hopefully I will see it at some point in the future. I thank you again for being here. I hope this was a joyful topic, and I hope that you derived a tremendous amount of joy from hearing this. Again, just to reiterate, please subscribe to this channel when you have a chance. And I need to emphasize this because this is our platform. It's a way of getting this message out. The International Sanatana Dharma Society, we are a non-profit religious movement with one aim, and that is to bring this knowledge that you just heard for the last hour to the entire earth. And indeed, to bring true spiritual joy to as many people as we can, to as many people who wish to truly have it. We can only do this with your help, with your generous donations, and we are indeed in the midst of our year-end fundraising campaign, as are many nonprofits, actually. There's almost no nonprofit in existence that doesn't have a year-end fundraising campaign, and we also, by necessity, we are one of those. I would ask you that if at any point, either with this live stream tonight or if at any other point in the past, if these talks have helped you in any way, if they have helped you spiritually, if they have helped to give you comfort, to give you hope, I simply very humbly ask that you in return help us by donating to the International Sanatana Dharma Society anything you can. And people say this all the time. I really mean this. If you can only give $1, please give $1. Only give in accordance with what you can. If you can give $1 million because you're a billionaire, please give $1 million. If you can give 10, if you can give 100, etc., etc., etc. Please give in accordance with your means, but please give. Please help us. Please help the International Sanatana Dharma Society to continue to bring this life-sustaining, life-enhancing message to all of the earth in every way. Please go to dharmacentral.com. If you look on the menu, you'll see a little area where you can just donate. Please go there. Please don't hesitate. Please donate whatever you can today. Please become a member of the International Sanatana Dharma Society if you can, and in that way, on a monthly basis, give recurring donations. But please help us to continue to help you in every way. And with that, I again thank you for being here. Please join us again next Monday. And namaste. Jaya Shriman Narayana. All the disciples here, loudly repeat.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Om Hri Om. Very good. And with that, until the next time that we get together, everyone, please take very good care of yourselves in every way.